Rittenhouse played a direct role in choosing, although randomly choosing, the final 12 jurors in the case against him, okay? So let me give you some context, but then we'll go to some video. So 18 prospective jurors sat through 2 weeks of testimony and arguments before Rittenhouse was told to pick 6 numbers out of a tumbler. Now, the 6 numbers corresponded to jurors who were then stricken from the panel, resulting in the 12 who were sent into deliberations. Now, the video of this exploded on the internet. People lost their minds about it. I'm gonna give you context that matters, but before I do, here's the video in question.
Numbers out of the tumbler yesterday. I'm now reading about how bizarre and unusual it was to have the defendant pick the numbers out of the tumbler yesterday. I do it because of an incident that I had in a case I tried in Racine, and there was a black defendant, and there were 13 jurors, one of whom was black. And when the clerk, the government official, drew the name out of the tumbler, it was a black, the only black. There was nothing wrong with it. It was all okay. But what do they talk about? Optics nowadays? Is that the word for things? That was a bad optic, I thought. I think people feel better when they have control. Ever since that case, I've had an almost universal policy of having the defendant do the picks. It had nothing to do with anybody's race or anything like that.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there. Now, before we get into his statement on, as he said it, a black, we'll get to that in a second. I want to address this, right? So it is actually pretty unusual for the judge to do that. But the judge is telling the truth in mentioning that that's what he does with almost all other cases. So we looked into that, and that is the case. The defendant does end up picking, at random from the tumbler who the eventual jurors will be, the people who will deliberate and decide the case. So I just want to mention that because I do think that's relevant. There have been moments in this case where it appears as though he's a little in favor of Rittenhouse, but in this particular case, regardless of what the optics look like, and I agree that the optics aren't great, the judge is being consistent with what he's done in previous trials. He's just getting attention for it for the first time now because the Rittenhouse trial is such a big deal.
It's televised, yeah. Yeah, and look, I think that if you are facing, as he pointed out, an issue with the optics of the selection, what better way to distract us from it than to say the things that he said, which is its own optics issue, but we'll get to that, I know.
Right, no, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we were sort of talking about this a little bit earlier. So the thing that we do here is that we bring our life experience and our values and we advocate for and against things. That's what we do. We try to ground it in the facts. We try to make sure that you understand what's going on, but we advocate for things. What we do not simply do is say, oh, that's the law? Well, then I guess it's right. That's the regulation? I guess that's right. They've done that before? Well, then it must be right. So he seemed like aghast at somebody has a problem with this policy of like powerballing this thing and then having the defendant do it. We've done that before. I don't care about that at all.
Right.
You could put each of the jurors on like a spot of a dartboard and then huck a dart at it. That would be a way to do it. Maybe you could do it for a few years. Then it would be the way it's done. It's still wrong. This is not a game. Okay, you're not supposed to be doing bingo with the jury. Honestly, him selecting it is weird, especially considering, as you very lightly put, the ridiculous bias that the judge clearly has for Kyle Rittenhouse. But just the entire process itself is comical, and nothing about this process should be comical. We're talking about the fate of a person who killed people.
Yeah.
It should not be drawn like a little ball or something. We're not playing Powerball. We're choosing a jury. Honestly, have a computer do it. Something with a bit of dignity.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with a computer doing it, obviously. I don't really think it matters, right? Like this particular thing, I think you're right that like the optics are absolutely bad, right? But at the end of the day, is it really gonna have a bearing on the outcome of the trial? I don't think it will.
No, I get it.
And so, yeah.
I just don't like it.
I totally understand that.
It's the 29th stupidest thing about this entire process, but it's on the list.
But do you guys get what I'm saying when I comment on the judge, right? Like the judge should shut up Just stop talking.
I never want to hear him again.
And look, member of our audience was very upset that I, had the audacity to talk about the judge's conduct during this giant controversial case. I'm gonna keep talking about the judge's conduct because the judge's conduct in the multiple examples that we've given you guys is unacceptable. Like, and he doesn't want people to lose faith in the system, right? But like, it's insane. It's insane because every single time he's tried to explain his decisions, he's made himself look more biased. Like
biased and kind of incompetent.
And incompetent.
At least technically,
are we really
if not
deny
legally.
That, guys? Like, let's be honest. I've been honest after seeing the evidence that's been presented during this trial. The evidence, in my opinion, supports the claim that Rittenhouse had a reasonable fear of an imminent threat, and that's why he fired his weapon. That's what the laws are, right? The burden of proof to find him guilty is incredibly high, and based on the video evidence, the photos that have been shown, the screenshots, all of that stuff, he could reasonably feel that his life was in danger.
Yeah, and so
right?
could the people he shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can point that out. That's our job. And then we can also point out that it seems convenient that conservatives have started to do the thing where they take a lethal weapon, they put it near a person, then they say that they're scared and they start shooting.
Well, they're losing their minds right now over anti-Rittenhouse protesters showing up in front of the courthouse, not inside, in front of the courthouse, carrying weapons. I mean, I agree, I don't like that, but I also don't like members of the right-wing militia groups showing up with weapons on a night when Black Lives Matter protesters are out there protesting a police shooting, right? But you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have a double standard. If left-wingers or people who disagree with what Rittenhouse does show up with weapons, you can't then turn around and say that's unacceptable.
Maybe they're just medics.
Maybe they're just there
to clean
graffiti off the streets. Maybe that's what they were there.
How about nobody bring a gun around?
Exactly.
Stop being weirdos. How about that?
Yeah, that's my
point. If you wouldn't bring a bow and an arrow somewhere, don't bring a gun. Now you're hiding behind, well, it's cooler and it's like it's a part of America or whatever. If you wouldn't carry a sword, don't carry a gun. If you wouldn't carry a battle axe, don't carry a gun. You're a bunch of weirdos. You live in a modern country. You don't need a gun. There's no bear coming at you. You're not in a war zone. This isn't cosplay. This is the real world. Stop carrying guns everywhere you go. I had an ad before a YouTube video of some sort of tactical belt that was supposed to be better for holstering guns at all different angles. Why are you living in a fantasy world? We live in a real world. Just like do your job, go talk to your family, get a hobby, seriously. Stop with the guns everywhere.
Yeah.
If Kyle Rittenhouse hadn't brought the gun, nobody would have died. And that's the same exact situation in so many of these situations. They just result in more people dying.
I just can't get over the fact that his mother thought it was a good idea to go to Kenosha, Wisconsin. Like she went with him. Like I don't know, like if I had a 17-year-old and I was genuinely concerned about a protest devolving into violence, just wouldn't show up with my 17-year-old. I don't know. Anyway, moving on, other things that happened. I think it's a good sign that the jury is still deliberating and they've asked specifically for evidence to help make their decision. Drone footage of the shooting. They're asking for apparently some sort of image that the prosecutors and defense had access to, but the jurors didn't have access to, so they're asking specifically for that. Look, the jurors, they're taking their time, they're deliberating. I think the system is working the way that it's supposed to, right? But I do want to mention one other thing that I thought was funny. So at one point during the trial, everyone's like looking at some evidence. And there's this image of Kyle Rittenhouse like standing beside Judge Schroeder as they're reviewing the evidence. So there it is. I just love the internet sometimes because they photoshopped it. So I want to go to the photoshops immediately.
As long as it doesn't involve AOC, I'm fine with whatever Photoshop.
So they photoshopped it to make it look like they're playing video games.
Wait, but that implies that they're buddy-buddy.
The courtroom during daily lunch breaks, nothing to see here. So good. Let's go to another one. Fake. And then Brett Ehrlich writes, "Wait, why did you Photoshop the controllers out? What are you hiding?"
Wait, was that a reply to the Photoshop?
That was a reply to, yeah,
I think
exactly.
that person replied to the Photoshop.
Yes.
Because that person felt like they were doing fact checking by pointing out that the judge in a murder trial wasn't actually playing Call of Duty with the defendant. Well, thank you, I'm glad. We need good fact checkers here in America.
That, by the way, that Call of Duty Photoshop is really good.
It was pretty
Yeah,
good.
because I mean, I imagine that's exactly what Schroeder would look like while playing video games. Just confused, befuddled.
Very confused.
Yeah.
How do I throw a grenade?
So look, we just gotta wait and see what the verdict is. I don't think that the Rittenhouse picking who the jurors are randomly from Tumblr is gonna make a difference in this case. But nonetheless, I can understand why people are not appreciative of the optics that come along with it. Also, man, Judge Schroeder just needs to stop talking.
Yeah.
Just stop talking.
Maybe retire.
That'd be great.
Consider it.
I'd enjoy that, yeah. And apologies to anyone who's offended by that comment. Anyway.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.